Good morning. Just delighted to be here with you all today. Thanks so much for joining us for our second annual Diversity Business Summit. We're happy to have you here with us, and we hope that the information that we're going to share with you today is information that'll be helpful to you in your businesses. Whether you're a bigger business or a small business, we want to help. Inclusion is important, isn't it? I want to begin by thanking our sponsors who have been so helpful to us in helping to put this together, namely SMUD, Wells Fargo, AARP, UC Davis, and of course, our biggest sponsor for this event, the City of Sacramento's Economic Development Department. Thank you all so much for your support. And then there are my partners in crime, my partners in joy, my partners in sorrow, just my partners. And I'm going to first start by introducing you to Fred Palmer, who is the Executive Director of the Sacramento Rainbow Chamber of Commerce. Fred?
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. I'm so happy to be a part of this collaborative. I'm also a small business owner in the city of Sacramento for 25 years. So I live and breathe the challenges that we've had over the course of the last 8 months and more. Rainbow Chamber of Commerce and our foundation, I'm very proud of our activity. We have been working very hard in the background to make sure that we bring you information and valid, relevant resources. We've had a few educational seminars. One of our best attended was on the topic of unconscious bias. So it shows me and it shows all of our chamber members, we still all have a lot to learn from each other and a lot of work to do. And this collaborative has been doing that for our collective chambers for several years. Again, my name is Fred Palmer. I'm the Executive Director of our Rainbow Chamber of Commerce and our foundation. And my pronouns are he, him, his. We have a lot of different events that we do, of course, like all chambers do. Everything from very serious things to very silly things. The silliest thing that we do is Drag Queen Bingo. Hopefully many of you have attended that. We've been doing that virtually. That event has now raised and donated well over $350,000 to local charities and nonprofits. So we're very proud of the silly that we do. We're very proud of the serious that we do as well. We have, like most of our chambers, a scholarship. We have a different amount of programs to help our young entrepreneurs. We have a Small Business Entrepreneur Award, along with Wells Fargo, that we just recently gave out $20,000 in those awards. We're very proud of the work that we do, and I'm very proud to work with Aziza and Kathy on all these programs. And thank you to our sponsors again. Aziza, thank you for mentioning those.
You bet. You bet. We're really glad to have you here. And then our moderator for today, our moderator extraordinaire, because Kathy has moderated every single event that we've put on together. And I'm delighted to be able to introduce you to Kathy Rodriguez Aguirre, who is the President and CEO of the Sacramento Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. Welcome, Kathy.
Thank you so much, Aziza. It's always a great day and certainly a great way to start the week when I get to start it with you and Fred. So I'm very excited about that. I always like people to know that one of the most important things about our collaborative that we have, the Sacramento Hispanic Chamber with the Sacramento Black Chamber and the Sacramento Rainbow Chamber, is that this is something that was based on friendship and that is organic. And when we look at everything that's happened in the past year, we were really fortunate to already be in the trenches together. And so the work that we do together is because we really believe in it. And what you'll see today is when we talk about diversity and inclusion and equity, you're not going to see a workshop that specifically talks about that. And here's why. Because for us, it's woven into every single thing that we do. Whenever we do a program, questions we ask ourselves, are we inclusive? Is there equity? Where's the diversity? And we really work hard to make sure that everything is already there. And that's what we're hoping everyone else will see that today. And that you'll ask yourselves those questions when you're planning and when you're putting programs together. Because the only way that we can move forward is to be intentional about it and purposeful. And that is the thing that I'm most proud of with this collaborative that we have. So my name is Kathy Rodriguez Aguirre, and my husband will be very pleased that Aziza actually remembered my married name too, because oftentimes I forget it myself. But so thank you for that, Aziza. But over the Hispanic Chamber, we recently launched Juntos Sacramento, which is really Together Sacramento. And it really exemplifies and amplifies all the work that's being done here, but also talking about the work that we do with our small businesses and making sure that we're doing everything that we can to make sure they're developing and that they thrive and they move past this pandemic. I really feel as we've put this work together and put the plans together, that as we move into 2021, we're going to see a lot of difference. We're going to see the resiliency that our small businesses have shown, and that we're going to see that they are able to thrive. And we hope today with these programs that we put together that they're able to get some more information that's going to help them do that. So thank you for joining us today. We're very excited to bring the Diversity Summit to you for the second year. And we're really hoping when we're done with this that you leave with some tangibles that you can put in place into the programs that you have. So thank you. So I think at this point, Aziza and Fred, we're going to say goodbye to you for a moment, and we'll see you towards the end of this program, and we'll go ahead and move forward with our first panel. So good morning, everyone. So we're very excited that our first panel today will be a supplier diversity, and we have 4 experts in their fields that are going to be talking to you about the programs that they have in place and answer any questions at the end that you might have about supplier diversity and what how can apply to you. So today we have with us Michelle Picard from Siemens Mobility. And she is a finance professional with more than 21 years in the transportation industry. And she's currently performing in the role of Director, Business Governance and Risk Management and DBE Liaison Officer for Siemens Mobility. So we're happy to have her here with us. Then we also have Leroy Trepet, and Leroy is with SMUD and equally impressive in what he's done here, but he is working a SMUD representative with the SEED program. And Leroy serves as the economic development representative there at SMUD. And this role, he's responsible for providing targeted strategies to retain, recruit, and grow rate-paying businesses within the SMUD service area. So he's someone that we see consistently working with us, and we're excited to have him on this panel with us today. And then we have Jermaine Carter Gibson, and he is the business outreach liaison with the California Department of General Services. And he serves as a business outreach liaison and for the Office of Small Business and Disabled Veteran Business Enterprise Services. And in this role, Jermaine educates small and disabled veteran businesses on the state certification and procurement processes to ensure they understand and are able to successfully bid on state contracting opportunities. So Jermaine, we're happy to have you here with us too. And then last but certainly not least, we have Sylvester Donaldson Jr., and he is the Procurement and Contracts Manager for the Sacramento Housing and Redevelopment Agency. And before he assumed this role, he was the Procurement and Contracts Manager over at the Santa Barbara County. So he has a lot of experience to share with us today, and these are the 4 supplier diversity experts that we have that will be sharing a little bit about their programs they have in each of their areas. So we'll be starting first with Michelle Picard. Michelle?
Hi, thank you, Kathy. Good morning, everyone. I'm delighted to be joining the panel and audience today for our second annual Diversity Business Summit. I work for Siemens Mobility. We're a global company, a specialty company within a larger Siemens corporate organization. We have offices and manufacturing plants throughout the world, but importantly here locally, we have a rail car manufacturing facility with more than 1,700 workers in South Sacramento. And there we build things like light rail vehicles, locomotives for Amtrak, for example. And at Siemens, I just want to share that we're very happy to be here today to talk a little bit about our pathway towards making sure that, that we're inclusive. We have a Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Council within the Siemens USA. I do serve on that for mobility, and I'm very proud to say that there's a lot of conversation. We're making a lot of headway to make sure that we try to together at work with our colleagues and then externally with suppliers, with customers, with partners, engage in that conversation on how we can do business more proactively in the space of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so what I want to emphasize is that we're really striving to reflect the demographics of the community in which we operate. And especially we do that too with our employees. And it's really a core part of our business strategy. And we really want to make certain that we emphasize that. And I want to talk a little bit about for the suppliers who are partaking in the webinar today, what can they do to work with a large corporation such as Siemens, and how to go about it. If we can go to the next slide, please. So we've organized our efforts into 3 pillars. We have workforce, we have workplace, and we have marketplace. And for this particular call, what I'd really like to emphasize is one of the components of marketplace, which is finding enriching business partnerships that bring value to our business and support meeting our customer requirements, support growth, and support staying relevant. As you can see, workforce and workplace are also very important to us as well under our diversity, equity, and initiative strategic plan that we have for Siemens. So it is something that is definitely, it's documented, and there are individuals whose mission is really, to work in making sure that where we work is inclusive, the environment in which we work is, making people feel comfortable at the office, and then externally giving back to the community, partaking in working with chambers of commerce. We've strived to recently have a lot of corporate memberships so that we could find ways to connect with diverse-owned businesses. So, for example, some of those memberships include with National Minority Supplier Development Council, WeBank for women-owned businesses, also the NGLCC. And then we also, for Siemens Mobility Inc., and here locally in Sacramento, work with our local chambers of commerce as well. And so we find that it is one great way in which to find the local businesses who may have a service or good that fits our needs. And so if we go to the next slide, please. As being a transit vehicle manufacturer, it's also very important to us that we implement a disadvantaged business enterprise program. It is critically important as a transit vehicle manufacturer as well. And so, sorry about that. Let's see. And then a couple of things that I'd really like to emphasize in how to become a supplier to our organization. Some of the most important actions that you can take are your research. Is your product a good fit? And definitely share your story. I mean, look to make those connections, whether it's with a buyer, a supplier diversity representative, or someone who's making an introduction to your firm with you, for example, a Chamber of Commerce. And be confident. If you've received awards, share them. If you have basically references that reinforce that you deliver a quality product, share that. Talk about your differentiators, share your capabilities, and most importantly, be memorable. And then if you have specific quality or business certifications, for example, a disadvantaged business enterprise certification or a women-owned business certification, anything that you think would be of interest, definitely share that as well. And be an active listener. What I find that happens is when you engage in a conversation to sell one thing, if you're listening, sometimes who you're talking to will talk about something else, and you may realize quickly that you can fill another need, one that you might not have realized before. And most importantly, stay connected. Timing is everything. And we've had, I hope with some of those points today that we really want to make sure that we stay inclusive. So again, thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today, and have a great morning.
Great. Thank you so much, Michelle, for all that great information from Siemens. So Leroy, we have you next on deck to share a little bit about SMUD.
Thank you. Yes, so as Kathy mentioned earlier, my name is Leroy Trepet. I work in the Economic Development Partnerships group, which actually works under our Sustainable Communities Initiative. And this is our new organization that's been around actually about 2 years now, focused on the pillars of social well-being, healthy environment, prosperous economy and mobility. And I won't go deep into those pillars because our director, Jose Bodipa Memba, will be on later today, and I'm pretty sure that he will cover in depth in that space. But in that area of prosperous economy, that's kind of where my group and our focus comes in. And so just opening up a little bit about SMUD real quickly. We've been around a little over 70 years now. We are your community-owned, not-for-profit utility organization here in the community. And because we're community-owned, that means that we have a very focused vision on making sure that we're doing everything we can to help you thrive in your community and be successful. We have a 7-member board of directors, which breaks up our service area into different wards, and each one of those directors is voted on and elected by their local community. And so they are hyper aware of the things that they need to be able to be successful and help their community and help our customers. And so moving forward to the next slide, when we look at our programs and where we do our focus for small business, we have our program called SEED, or the Supplier Education Economic Development Program. This is very simply our friendly acronym that we've put together to define this program that is laser focused on helping our small businesses in Sacramento develop and succeed. And you may have heard about this acronym before. Some of you may already be seed vendors, but I'm going to go in a little bit about what it takes to be a part of this particular program, and we'll cover that on the next slide. And so when we look at the question of how do you qualify for this program, we try very hard to make things as simple as we can. We didn't want to make a different process, if you will, or a different certification out there for our businesses to work through. So for that reason, we've broken this down to 2 steps to qualify. First, we work with one of our big partners, the California Department of General Services, or DGS, and we run through their small business process. So you as a business have to make sure that you're registered and qualified as either a small business or a small business public works. Those are the 2 different qualifications that we accept. And so we know a lot of people will have minority-owned business or women-owned business or even veteran disabled-owned business. Those are wonderful qualifications, and we're always glad to see those companies present, but we need to make sure that you have registered for the larger umbrella of the small business public works in order to qualify for our small business program. And then once you've gotten that step, the second piece of the process is just making sure that you are a ratepayer in the SMUD service area for at least 6 months. And you could have a lease. We do address that on a case-by-case basis, but our main focus is making sure that, again, we are investing our resources back into our community. And therefore, we want to make sure that we don't have big business or us that sets up a quick office, comes in to win a contract, and then goes ahead and moves out and takes the money out of our community. We have a mandate from our board that we need to invest 20% of all contract investments that we put out annually into our community. And so that's why we're hyperly focused on making sure that this program is addressed and focused on our local business community, like all of you here today. And then I think the last slide here, if we move on, we'll just quickly touch on the benefits that you get as being a part of our SEED program. First up, it's a 5-point price advantage on situations where we are just going out for bid where lowest price wins. And we can talk more if people need to about the math on how that works out. The next step or the next benefit we have is when it is a larger procurement where we are looking at a situation where we want to evaluate your technical capabilities to perform, as well as the price of the item or the service that you're going to provide. We have a 100-point evaluation RFP. And when you're a seed vendor, you automatically receive 10 RFP points to start off. And that can be the make or break many times in between getting the contract or not getting the contract. We also offer a state certified program If you ask for it, we do stress you have to request it when you are filling out your bid proposal. We will give you prompt payment of 20 days, which is shorter than our now net 45. And then one of the other things to point out is something we call sheltered market, which is where we have situations of a certain dollar threshold being $82,000 a year for a single year contract, $246 for a multi-year. If we have that financial threshold and we can find 3 businesses minimum inside of our system that are qualified to provide that good or service, we will do what we call a sheltered market, which is only our seed vendors can apply. Thus, we make sure that we have some local competition, and again, keeping those funds here in our community. And the last benefit we have is something called reciprocity. And this just means that being a part of our program gives you access to a lot of other programs in our community, such as this event that we're attending today, working with the SBA, Small Business Association, and other organizations as well. And so I know that was a real quick intro to our process and our program, but I'm looking forward to being able to talk more on this panel about how we can work with you and how we can help you succeed in connecting with SMUD and qualifying for a contract with us. So thank you very much, Kathy.
Great. Thank you, Leroy. We really appreciate all the work and effort SMUD has done to make sure our small businesses have opportunities. So thank you for that. And then next we have actually Sylvester Donaldson. And he is Sacramento Housing and Redevelopment Agency, and he's going to talk a little bit to us about his supplier diversity program.
Good morning, everyone. Primarily, SHRA engages with small businesses in order to connect them with our residents. We have a program called Section 3. Section 3 is a program for low and very low income residents and businesses to allow them opportunity for them to bid on our projects. Those projects can most of it can run up to hundreds of millions of dollars over time to very small bids being maybe basically $50,000 or $60,000. Primarily, our job here at SHRA is to help the economic engine of the county. And by doing so, we try to engage with small businesses by having them register with our Section 3 coordinator, which is Edward Lewis, and working with him on his series of trainings so we can have certified payroll, and so we're going through the whole entire project, the gamut of projects in order to make a business sound. So there's trainings that are free that we kind of connect businesses with opportunities of bonding, for example, and certified payroll and e-comply. And these classes are basically free or very low cost. We try to get the businesses in the region to be able to engage with us that way. We also try to do its business matchmaking, which we're going to roll out in the spring of 2021, excuse me. And that is going to be able to having our residents and businesses matchmake with us in order to be able to increase full employment, and actually also to support our self-sustainable household income, to increase independence as well. I think for the most part, the best way to start working with us in SHRA is to basically reach out to one of my procurement specialists and register in our vendor system. And that way is just going through our vendor portal, shra.org. And as well as meeting with me one-on-one. I have what's called vendor check-ins, the last Friday of every month via Zoom. And if you want to get on that list, you can basically email me at sdonaldson@shra.org. And basically that allows the opportunity for you to be able to question and open up dialogue one-on-one in order to try and create more opportunities for small businesses as well as diversity.
Great. Thank you, Sylvester. That's a lot of information.
No problem.
But thank you so much. You had done some really good points, and we will be making sure to include Sylvester's email as well as everyone else's from our panel for our audience. So don't worry if you missed it. You'll definitely be getting that in the link when the program is done. So thank you. And then Jermaine Carter Gibson from DGS. Why don't you tell us what's going on over there?
Yes, absolutely. So like she said, my name is Jermaine Carter Gibson with the Department of General Services. Now, for most people, Department of General Services has no meaning whatsoever, but we are the business manager for the state of California. So essentially, we oversee all of the spending, and we also administer the certification programs. So the first thing I want the supplier community to know is just the amount of opportunity that's available with the state of California being a client of yours. So for example, last fiscal year, 18-19, the state of California spent $10.5 billion in contracting. 2.2 billion of that went to certified small businesses, and 336 million of that went to certified disabled veteran business enterprises. Now, what most people don't know is that the state of California also has contracting goals. So the goal is to spend 25% of our money with certified small businesses and 3% of our money with certified disabled veteran business enterprises. Now, for the money that the state spends with you to count towards their goals, you have to be a certified firm. And so that's one of the things that I do is connect our supplier community with certifications and ultimately with contracting opportunities. So let's go to the next slide and look at some of the certifications. So the state of California offers 3 certifications, and I'm going to quickly go over the requirements of each. So number one, it was actually mentioned earlier, I believe Leroy mentioned our small business certification because they are a reciprocity partner of ours. So the requirements to get the small business certification are as follows. So number one, you have to be independently owned and operated, which means you just can't be a subsidiary of a larger company. Number two, you can't be dominant in your field of operation. What does dominant mean? It just means that there's competition, that you aren't the only firm that offers your good or service. Your principal office must be located in California. Your owners must be domiciled here, which means they must live in California. And in relation to size, your business can have 100 or fewer employees and make up to $15 million in gross annual receipts averaged over the last 3 years. If you meet those requirements, you can qualify for our small business certification, which is absolutely free. By the way, all of our certifications are free. Now, the second certification is our small business for the purpose of public works. So if you do public works activities, which is the alteration, repair, or construction of any public building or property, if you have outgrown our small business certification, meaning you're a bit bigger, you can qualify for this certification. So all of the qualifications are the same except for the size of your business. So you can have up to 200 employees and make up to $36 million a year, averaged over the last 3 fiscal years. And you will also qualify for that certification, which is only needed if you've outgrown the small business certification. And the last certification that we offer is the Disabled Veteran Business Enterprise certification. These are for our disabled vets. So you must have a 10% or more service-connected disability determined by the VA, be at least 51% owned by one or more veterans. If you're a LLC, it has to be wholly owned by vets. And your home office is slightly different. Your home office can be anywhere in the continental United States, and your owners just have to live in California. If you meet those qualifications, you can get that certification as well. Also, if you meet multiple qualifications, like let's say small business and disabled vet, you can be dual certified and have basically double the benefits that come with each certification. So the website here, www.caliprocure.ca.gov, this is where you get registered. This is where you can apply for certification, which is absolutely free. This is also where you can find contracting opportunities that the state is currently offering. It's like your one-stop shop for contracting, caliprocure.ca.gov. Lastly, if you want to get in contact with my team, which again, our focus is to connect you with certification and ultimately contracting opportunities, our email is businessoutreach@dgs.ca.gov. And I know we're talking to the Sacramento community, so there's one opportunity that I really want to highlight for anyone that's in the construction field, or if you do anything related to that, painting, plumbing, anything related to construction. I want to let everyone know that Hensel Phelps has been awarded the contract for the Richards Boulevard complex that we're building. which is multi-million-dollar contract that's been awarded to them, and they're actively looking for small business subcontractors. So Hensel Phelps would be a firm that you would want to take a look at and get in contact with if you're looking to have subcontracting opportunities. So I'm really excited to be here. That concludes my little presentation, and I will definitely be available for questions.
Great. Thank you, Jermaine. Thank you all, for all the presentations. We are open for questions right now. We have some time. So if anyone has a question that you want to enter into the chat box, certainly go ahead and do that. While we're waiting for some questions, I have a few, so hopefully you guys are ready to answer some. So Jermaine, actually on your end, we hear a lot about, small business, certified small business, and you kind of alluded to, if you graduate from a level, here's another opportunity. But from the state of California, what is considered a small business? And, once they are certified, do you have additional assistance, to help them kind of get through a process to actually get a contract?
Got it. So as far as small business is concerned, to be qualified and considered small, you just have to have 100 or less employees and make $15 million or less averaged over the last 3 years, and you're considered a small business. We also have a micro business designation, which is if you have 25 or less employees and you make less than $5 million a year, but it still falls under the small business certification. It's just a separate designation. In regards to business building, what we do is the certification part, and then our partners will typically assist with the business building. So between our chamber partners, the Small Business Development Center, the PTAC, they all offer free services, and we connect with them and partner with them for those services for businesses.
Great. Thank you, Jermaine. That's good information for everyone. Sylvester,
Yes.
you're actually, hello. So question for you, because you alluded to this, this section 3, which I think is actually new for a lot of, our audience to hear about. And you said there's opportunities that were for, low income residents, but also for businesses. What did you mean by that? What would be considered a low income business that would have an opportunity here?
80% of the median income is low income wage earners. 50% is very low wage earners. And that's an opportunity for us to be able to help grow or kind of shelter a small business as they grow and accumulate capital in order to accumulate more contracts. So we try to help them kind of shelter their growth, and by partnering with some of our residents in terms of as employees, or some of our residents starting their own business and being mentored as well.
Okay, great. There, good. And then thank you for that. That one really stood out as something I don't think most people have heard about. So you might actually be getting more people reaching out to you about that.
Please do. Actually, that's actually mandated by HUD. That program is mandated by HUD, and actually is one of our more progressive programs that we're trying to actually work on growing here at SHRA.
Okay, wonderful, great. Well, hopefully we'll be able to do that with you. So thank you for that. Good. Michelle, in your presentation, you really talked, all the different tiers that are happening there at Siemens, specifically towards diversity and inclusion. I'm just wondering, yours is a little different in that it's a global company. Did you find that you were better equipped, or it was a little easier to start putting these programs in place as you are a global company? And maybe for someone that's not, what would you recommend a company do to start implementing something like that?
No, that's a great question. I would say, inclusion means something different, and diversity means something different in different areas around the world. So even within Siemens, for example, we find now that we're having global conversations that the definitions are different. But what's great about it now, especially within the last, I would say, 6 months, is those conversations are really happening to define, in some countries, for example, diversity just means you're now involving women. Here in the US, it's much different, right? It can be a Hispanic male that we're talking about. So it's a completely different conversation. And what's really wonderful about that is that there's constant reinforcement now coming from a lot of our colleagues in the US explaining that, and the people actually now being receptive and hearing of, oh, yes, it is something different. It's just, it's culturally there, it's a different approach and mindset that they have about different topics. But what's even really great right now is that now that we're having those conversations, there's on December 3rd, there's a purple light up event that's happening globally for an employer with individuals with disabilities. That's pretty fantastic. And even with, for example, in the U.S., our employee resource group called Pride, for the LGBTQ group, it may have a different name elsewhere, but, there's now conversations about, how do we make that a bigger collective? So for those companies who are really just, really wanting to start, you really have to decide, it's such a big area. You've got to have a focus, right? You've got to start small. We have a lot of employee resources who are be interested in so many different things, but we try to narrow it down to maybe 10 employee resource groups, right? To try to gauge, are those the ones that employees are really interested in? And, some may, take a mark over time, with the time, so that people can have something that's relevant to them. And we realize that has changed. Over time.
Great. Thank you so much for that. That's, it's really interesting to get to hear from you on that viewpoint, because you have this global perspective that not all of us get to have. So thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
And then Leroy, last question is for you. So a little and simple one, because not everyone knows, SMUD is very proactive about reaching out to small businesses with the training and certifications and all the work that you do. But one of the other aspects, and some of people have alluded to that too, is getting the opportunities to work with primes. And, I know that SMUD has also been, active in trying to make that happen. So you can share a little bit about how you've helped, small businesses get to meet prime, so that when those big jobs come up, they're able to also bid on that.
Yeah, so we've got a couple of things there. First of all, we do keep, our database of all of our small businesses, which incidentally, our website, bids.smud.org is where you can go to be able to register yourself as a small business. Again, that's bids.smud.org. And going there, that's a system where we keep the repository of all our local businesses. And when we have primes that will often write to us and say, hey, we're putting together a contract. Do you have some people you can connect us with? That is where we will pull our database and offer small businesses to these primes to try to help with those connections. So that's one of the things we do regularly all throughout the year. But then one thing that we probably will highlight, it just happened about a month ago, but we will be doing it again next year. We do some big get-togethers like our Meet the Buyers and Business Expo. And this is a situation when we're on site where we can have 400 or 500 people meeting with primes, meeting with our buyers and helping facilitate those connections. This year we had to do that online. It was still very successful. We had, again, almost 500 people participate, and we're looking forward to doing that program again next year. So just keep an eye on our SMUD website for information about when that particular program will be coming up again. But that's just a couple of quick hits of things that we do to try to help facilitate those connections.
Great. Well, thank you all for sharing all the information that you have with us this morning. We really appreciate it. I think it's good for people to know that although these are all very large companies and organizations, that at the heart, though, you're all really working hard to get down to the small business and making sure that they're aware of the programs, resources, connections that they can have. So thank you for all your time with us this morning. We really appreciate it. And we are going to go ahead and move on to our next topic. Thank you.
Thank you.
So good morning, everyone. For everyone that's just joining us, this is the second annual Diversity Summit that's being brought to you by the Sacramento Black Chamber, the Sacramento Rainbow Chamber, and the Sacramento Hispanic Chamber. So we are happy to be here with you, and I'm very pleased to actually introduce this next speaker, who is someone who's been at the forefront of public health here in the Sacramento County, and that is Dr. Olivia Caseri. And she is the Public Health Officer for Sacramento County. And as a health officer, she provides medical expertise and oversight on a variety of community-wide public issues impacting county residents, including communicable disease control, maternal and child health issues, chronic diseases, and emergency preparedness, and is currently overseeing the COVID-19 pandemic response in Sacramento. Dr. Caseri received her medical degree in Uganda and holds a master's degree in epidemiology from UC Davis, yay, UC Davis, and she's board certified in public health and preventive medicine. And Dr. Olivia Kasiri was very, very much at the forefront in making sure that Sacramento County is receiving the services that we need to get through this pandemic. So we're very excited to have her here with us. And Dr. Kasiri, thank you for joining us, and we're looking forward to hearing a little bit from you.
Thank you, Kathy, and thank you for this invitation, and good morning, everyone. So, of course, the disease that we're all talking about that has impacted our lives is COVID-19. So I'm going to just give a brief overview of where we're at and what we can expect to see happening within the next month or so. So we've been at this for close to 9 months now. Actually, it's a little over 9 months. And it's been a roller coaster in terms of cases going up and down. And it's been the same with our activities and our ability to be able to provide help. We are now at over 27,500 cases. Most of those cases are in young adults 18 to 49. In fact, about 60% of the cases we see are in that age group. But it's a totally different picture when you look at the deaths. We have a little over 500 deaths reported right now, and 70 to 80% of the deaths are in people over the age of 65. About 50% of those are in individuals in long-term care facilities, but many of them are within our community, living with friends and relatives. And so sometimes we've been asked questions about why don't we just have the long-term care facilities shut up and everybody else move on with their lives. But as you see from these numbers, there's still a lot of people within our community who are at risk. The other risk factor, of course, is the chronic diseases, especially for those that are hospitalized. Many of them have chronic diseases such as diabetes, hypertension, kidney disease, liver disease, heart disease. And it's like every single time we get these hospital reports, that's what we see over and over again. And unfortunately, again, these chronic diseases do put people at a higher risk for death as well. So what are we doing in public health to assist, and how do we see the impact that it has had on our communities and our businesses? So from the get-go, a few of the things that we did initially was to declare a health emergency. And what that does is allow us the ability to move a little faster in getting resources and also getting additional staff, because of course with this response, we needed a lot more staff than we usually have in public health. And so this happened right at the time we realized that we were having community spread. And then over time, we also had to issue a health officer order. And I have to admit to you that in all my years of public health, I've used the health officer order a lot of times, but it's always been to individuals. And even though we have a plan for pandemics, and we have a plan for what to do if we have to quarantine a large number of people, I really didn't imagine that I would have to do it at this level where I'm asking an entire community, an entire county to actually stay at home. But that's what we needed to do in order to be able to start bringing the numbers down. And it worked. And so by the time we started off in early spring, we were seeing that the numbers were going down, and they were controlled. And we started reopening, but unfortunately, because as we were opening up, it was a little too fast, and the numbers just jumped right up. And at one point, we were getting cases as many as 300 a day. So that's the reason why we had to go back to the closing again. And I know it's had a huge impact on businesses. I get phone calls from people who are impacted every day. But that's part of the what we do in public health, is we have to look at the whole picture and and try to balance the needs of the different groups. But right now, our priority is to save as many people as we can from getting COVID-19 and from dying from COVID-19. So what has happened is that the state has set up what they call a blueprint for reopening. And so all of us, all the counties are required to abide by that. And so what that blueprint does is it has certain tiers, and according to the tier that county is assigned to, they can open certain businesses with modifications and restrictions. And so Sacramento, along with about 30 other counties, we started off in the purple tier, which is the most restrictive. And a lot of businesses had to remain closed, schools had to remain closed. But over time, we were able to open the schools, and we were able to actually move into the red tier. And we were doing really well, actually. We were moving towards the orange tier, and we had a campaign out for Turn Sacramento Orange by Halloween. But unfortunately, we started seeing a creep up in the numbers. And this is not only unique to Sacramento, we're seeing it happen in other counties as well. And over this last weekend, we saw an even higher jump in the numbers. So it is unfortunate that we're actually looking at reverting back to the purple tier. And I know the hardship that that's going to cause for businesses. So just wanted to let everyone know that we don't make these decisions lightly, but because so many people can be impacted by COVID-19, and we've seen the devastation that it can have on families. This is a necessary step that we have to take. One of the questions that I'm often asked, apart from the deaths, is, well, since the young people seem to get mild disease or no symptoms at all, what's the issue? But what a lot of people don't realize is that many people, even those that don't die, end up with a lot of complications. Many people that end up being hospitalized end up having to be on oxygen for a while, or they get lingering symptoms, symptoms such as fatigue, inability to breathe, and a lot of other things. And in fact, in some cases, some people have had to have lung transplants. So this is not a mild disease, and it's something that we need to all take seriously. And finally, we are at the start of the flu season, and so we are asking everybody, it's even more important this year to get the flu shot, because we want to protect as many people as possible from the flu, because that will help us with our fight against COVID-19 as well. We've already had one county that has reported a person who got both COVID-19 and the flu, and you can imagine a double whammy like that, that would be difficult to manage. We're also, of course, looking very carefully at the impact on hospitals as we see those numbers creeping up, and trying to make sure that we do not overwhelm the system and we don't get to the point where we actually have to choose between who gets the ventilator and who gets a hospital bed. So I do appreciate everybody that has been working really hard to follow our guidance. And we're also hoping that as we start the new year, with the reports that we're hearing that we might get a vaccine for COVID-19 soon, that things might start to look better. But we are in this for the long haul. We're in this is, sometimes I say this is a marathon. And so we all need to continue being vigilant until we're able to get to the point where we can now look at having our lives get back to normal. So with that, I'd like to stop. And I don't know, Kathy, if there are any questions, any time for questions?
Well, actually, Dr. Kasiri, we did make sure to have time for questions. And yes, there are some questions that have come in through the chat. So thank you for being willing to answer them. I'm just going to read them as is. and have you go from there. Is that okay?
Yes,
Great.
absolutely.
Okay, so the first one is, thank you, Dr. Kasiri. Can you please address the current capacity for small business meetings that provide physical distancing for their participants and use COVID prevention?
Yes, so the guidance that we have right now for businesses is as much as possible that you should do the telecommuting. Fortunately, we have things like Zoom that we can use. So a lot of the businesses are using that. There are some businesses that are not able to do commuting completely because of maybe the interaction that they have to have with clients. And in those situations, our advice is that you make sure that you have a good protocol, that you provide training for your staff so that you're able to screen and also able to make sure that you follow the recommendations for social distancing and wearing a face covering.
Great, thank you. And then are the newest cases of COVID-19 from workplaces or from social family gatherings or elsewhere?
Most of the cases we're getting are from social gatherings. And of course, as we're seeing more numbers in the community, we're also unfortunately seeing more numbers in the long-term care facilities. And the unfortunate thing for the long-term care facilities is because it's a congregate setting where people are living at close quarters. And this is a vulnerable group that over the age of 65 have chronic conditions. So they have a lot of risk factors. And so we are seeing outbreaks in long-term care facilities as well. We do get reports from businesses, but we have not had a large outbreak in businesses as a result of transmission from one person to another in a business setting.
So having, with that, Dr. Kasiri, so, we're, obviously very concerned, the public health aspect, and then also, representing the business, community who's felt it the hardest, right, with the openings and closings and having to make adjustments. And as a business, there was additional costs that come into place that, weren't anticipated, both in getting them, COVID ready once or twice, just depending on what happens and everything. So if the cases are mostly social distancing and, a small business in particular is really following all the guidelines, what do you, from your viewpoint, like what can we be doing to encourage more of making sure that we're all following protocols to stay open? I know when we talk to our small businesses, we really, I think they're following it 100% and then 110% because they really can't afford to close. But yet we go to a grocery store and what started as, also following protocols very diligently has also fallen back a little bit, in the bigger area. So do you see that there needs to be an additional campaign again, reminding everyone as we get into the holiday season to follow it? We just really want to make sure we, stay open more than anything. So what is your suggestion to make sure that we're able to do that?
Absolutely. And then that's the issue that we try to bring across to everybody, that it's going to take all of us, because many of the businesses are doing a fabulous job, as you mentioned, in following the protocols. But then you have those others that are not. We've had pictures sent to us of people crowding into a bar or having a gathering and not wearing face covering and no social distancing. And unfortunately, that impacts all of us, because with the blueprint, if the numbers start going up, then there are certain businesses that will automatically close. And I know it's a huge, huge burden and hardship for businesses. But that is the guidance that we have to follow. That's the blueprint that the state has put in place that we are required to follow. So I do not have the option of being able to pick and choose and say, okay, you've done a good job, you're not going to close. Yeah. It's all dependent on what the state is allowing. So the county can be more strict. Say, if I can say certain businesses need to close even if the state says that they can remain open, but I can be more lax. And I know that we've had a lot of calls with people asking about that, but it's going to take all of us doing the right thing to be able to get us through this.
Great. And then this is just kind of a follow-up to one of the last questions, just for clarification. So Mark asked, can you please clarify? So if Zoom or telecommute is not an option, what is the capacity number to stay in compliance?
The capacity really depends on the office space. I think what you need to remember is being able to make sure that everyone is able to maintain the 6 feet of separation. I know that there are calculators out there actually that you can use online that will help in determining how many people can be in a room. We do give some guidance for some business settings such as churches, where and also like restaurants where we're telling them 25%. But for those that are not listed, the best way to determine that is making sure that everyone can stay 6 feet separated, and that gives you a guide as to how many people can be in the office or in the room.
Great. And then last question, Dr. Kasiri. And so this one is probably a little more open-ended because I don't know if there's going to be an actual answer yet. So we're all, hearing that there's potential for a vaccine coming soon, right? We're all excited. That was a big news today. So one, in your perspective, what really is that time frame there would be a vaccine available based on that? And then once it is available, the reality is, how soon would it be available to the general public? And is it safe for that first round? Like, how does that work?
So yes, we did get some exciting news today about the effectiveness of one of the vaccines that's in trial right now, and they're going through the approval process to be able to actually start distributing it. From what the reports that we've been getting, that probably the earliest that we can see it being distributed is in December. And even if we do start getting it, it will not be available to the general public right away. We do have a priority list. We will have to start with the healthcare workers because they're the ones that are at greatest risk. And then also, of course, the groups that I've mentioned, those in congregate settings, the very old, and those with chronic conditions because they're at greatest risk of getting severe disease. So by the time that it is available to the general public, probably the earliest will be in the springtime. So that's why I keep saying, well, even if you hear good news about the vaccine, please don't become too relaxed. We still need to continue with our preventive measures until we get to that point where we're able to provide it readily to the general public.
Great. Well, Dr. Kasiri, thank you so much for joining us today and giving us all this additional information. We appreciate your time. We know that you're someone who is at the forefront of everything right now. And we also want to commend you and let you know how much we appreciate all that you're doing, and you being that voice there at the Board of Supervisors meeting that day, letting everyone know, no, we need more resources in order to do the work that we need to do. And I just want to let you know, you have an entire community behind you that was applauding you and standing with you. Now, in my family, we have this, our favorite phrase is small but mighty, and that's what it takes to get it done. And you certainly were that small but mighty voice that day. And I just want to let you know that it comes from all of us. Thank you for championing and doing that, because it means a lot for all of us to know that we have someone like you at the forefront to get us through this pandemic. So thank you for your time and your energy and your championing.
Yeah, thank you for your kind words and for your support. I do feel it. So I really appreciate that. And I also want to encourage you, that, we'll get through this. We just need to remain vigilant. So thanks again for the invitation.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Kasiri. Thank you again for joining us. So that was a lot of information from Dr. Kasiri, and then we said she is at the forefront of everything. So hopefully you all got a lot of good information from her. And the big thing we got from that is we need to all continue wearing our masks. We need to wear our masks, social distancing, and that's what's going to get us all through this. So make sure that we're all following and doing that. So as we progress through our program, we have first from one of our big partners, community partners for all of us, is SMUD, and they have a short video that we're going to show to you right now.
We're proud to see our community helping in ways big and small. At SMUD, we're working hard too. helping with payment options, making it easier to qualify for our energy assistance rate, providing online tools and tips to help you lower your bill, and focusing on essential services to help keep rates low. As your community-owned, not-for-profit electric service, we're here to help, now more than ever. SMUD, powering forward together.
Great. Thank you for our SMUD video. We really appreciate all the work and support that they do in the community. And we're very excited to have our next speaker join us, who is Jose Bodipo Memba. And he is the Director of Sustainable Communities for the Sacramento Municipal Utility District, SMUD. And Jose, where are you? We're ready for you to come on board. Oh, it looks like he has traveled a bit. So I am going to share a little bit more about Jose with you. So the Sustainable Communities program at SMUD actually is something that's happened within the past 2 years. And it aims to bring environmental equity and economic vitality to all the communities in SMUD service area through partnership alignment. And Jose has 18 years of environmental, sustainability, and urban planning experience throughout California, covering a range of project and community types. We're excited to have him come on board. We're having a little bit of technical difficulties with Jose. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to move on to our next speaker, and then we will come back to Jose. And so we're definitely going to want to have his presentation. So I'm chatting here with my technical advisor here on the side to see if by any chance Jessica Walker is here with us. Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about what's going on in the Sacramento Hispanic Chamber. So in the past month, we have started Juntos Sacramento, and Juntos Sacramento is Together Sacramento. And one of the things we believe very strongly over at our chamber is the only way leadership works is through collaboration. So the collaboration we have here with the Sacramento Black Chamber and the Sacramento Rainbow Chamber is one of the many ones that we participate in. Another one that we have is the SAC IEDC program, which is actually also inclusive of many of the partners you've seen here today. And it is actually based on technical assistance, and it is made up of 15 other organizations, and it's other chambers and PBIDs and people coming together to make sure that we're working to provide small businesses with additional amplified resources now through the end of the year. So you'll see there's one-on-one consulting. There is a programming based for small business, really focused on the recovery. We have at the Sacramento Hispanic Chamber lots of things in language that we're doing, that meaning that if you need it in Spanish, we are able to provide translations. Our webinars are all in Spanish. We really wanted to provide a little bit more during this last quarter, especially because we know that 2020 has been a little bit of a challenge for many, and we want to provide more connections and resources to you. So wanted to make sure that we put that plug in for Juntos Sacramento. If you go to our website, you will see that there's a lot of array of resources that are available to you through us and through many of our partners. And as I've said that and now we are going to move forward with Jose Bodipo Memba from SMUD. So we're happy he's here to join us. And, that's a live show. So we provide, we're able to continue and go. So Jose, thank you for joining us. I did give a little bit about your bio already, which is really exceptional. So know that we shared that already, but if you are ready to say a little bit about yourself and do the presentation, we're ready to go.
Thank you so much, Kathy. I appreciate your patience. In 2020, we have to be ready for everything. So thanks to everybody who's joined today's great event. Again, we are so happy and so proud to be partnering with all the chambers that are putting on this great diversity event. And SMUD, again, is proud to be a sponsor, but even more than that, a partner. I want to make sure that we take good use of our time today and talk a little bit about what Sustainable Communities is for SMUD. So I'm going to go ahead and share screens for a quick moment so you guys can just learn a little bit about our Sustainable Communities program. And then actually what I would like to do is actually show you a really cool map that we've actually put together that we believe will really be helpful for a lot of our partners here on the line today, and happy to answer any questions about the great programs that SMUD has put together. So I'm hoping that everyone can see the slideshow right now. We're gonna go ahead and get started. So the Sustainable Communities Initiative is something that's just about 2 years old. In fact, our birthday's coming up next week. And this initiative is really built on ensuring that all of our communities have access to social well-being services, healthy environment, prosperous economy, and mobility, things that everyone here on this call is really striving towards. And we really see that the partnerships that we build as your public energy company with all of you is how we get that done, how we create that collective impact. And really the impetus behind this is really the acknowledgement, particularly over the last 10 to 15 years, of seeing how our region has been impacted, like most recently by things like COVID, and Dr. Kassiri mentioned before, how our most underserved communities are the ones that get hit the hardest. And as we recover, that recovery isn't done on an even plane. It really hits those underserved communities at a harder level, and they take a longer time to recover back. In fact, during the last economic downturn, our economy, our communities actually had the biggest disparity growth of any of our city of our size. So collectively, what we've been doing over the last 2 years is partnering and trying to find ways with our chambers to really meet our mission as an organization. And Leroy mentioned it before. We have a commitment as a public utility to enhance the quality of life for all of our customers and enhance the vitality of all of our customers. And we can't thank our chamber partners enough for how they've helped us do this. And so our Sustainable Communities team, while it's an initiative throughout all of SMUD, it really is led by 3 groups, and I want to really commend them. In fact, Leroy is a member of one of our team, and you heard from him earlier today. But we really focus on community partnerships and really are looking at regional workforce, and Shiloh Costello has been leading that team. Our economic development partnerships, led by Suzanne Dazan, and Leroy is a member of that team, really is focused on our business partners and making sure not just that we get the seed partnerships, but that we create opportunities for economic development in our most underserved communities in the city and county overall. And then our community education team, Jacob Cadis has been leading that team. And really, a lot of you saw, particularly during the downturn and during COVID, we were able to provide online trainings, online STEM camps, trying to make sure that we're adding and contributing to the needs of the entire region.
Hello, everyone. So we seem to have lost Jose just for a moment, and hopefully we'll see him kind of jump back in here. But as you can see, SMUD has an array of programs there, and they're more than just our provider for power. They definitely have a lot that they're focused on in the community to make sure that we are all achieving the goals that we have, whether in business or whether in your residence, but they have a lot in place to help you. So we will bring Jose back as he's able to join us again. In the meantime, it does look like we have Jessica Walker on tap. So we're just going to go ahead and bring her on board, and we'll start the next presentation. And as I said, we will definitely bring Jose back in when we're able to. But in the meantime, we do have Jessica Walker here from SCORE. And she is going to connect with us a little bit, tell us a little bit about what SCORE is, and then go on with our next presentation. So Jessica, thank you so much for being available and ready to jump in a little bit early, but we're very excited to hear from you. So.
Okay, great. Yes, thank you for having me. So today I'm just going to go over a list of the things that SCORE has to offer you all as either business owners or aspiring business owners. And we'll go ahead, I'll share my screen just to show you a handout that I created for you all. I wanted to make the best use of our time here together. And I know we have a short, limited amount of time, but I really wanted to make it as impactful as possible. So I will share here and we'll take a look. Okay, so what you'll notice here is that you're actually looking at a document which you'll receive access to either in the chat today or after our time together here during this particular conference summit that we're doing here today. So SCORE, Capital Corridor is who I represent. I am a volunteer here. My name is Jessica, and I'll tell you a little bit about SCORE, and then we'll move into some of the resources we have available for you all. And all of these resources can be accessed through this document. So I've made this document interactive for you all to make it super duper easy for you to find the resources that you need. So first of all, SCORE. We help small business owners like yourself. SCORE is the nation's largest network of volunteer expert business mentors. It is dedicated to helping small businesses get off the ground, grow, and achieve their goals since 1964. We've provided education and mentorship to more than 11 million entrepreneurs. SCORE is a 501c3 nonprofit organization and a resource partner of the U.S. Small Business Administration, better known as the SBA. So thanks to the generous support of the SBA and because of the selflessness of contributors of our more than 10,000 dedicated volunteers, we're able to deliver most of our offerings at no cost. So you can access all of the classes that we have available through SCORE, mentorships, workshops, there's online classes, online courses, which I have linked here as well. All of them are free and available to you. So a little bit about me. I've been with SCORE as a volunteer here for about 2 years. I've started the Women in Business events with SCORE in association with the Women's Business Center here in Sacramento and a couple of other agencies that we're partnering with. So if you'd love to partner with us, we'd love to have you as well. So I want to put that out there. We have an event coming up towards the end of this month, and we'll have a couple of other events that will be taking place through 2021. So we are ramping up to really help women in business specifically, if I can say that word. So another great little fact about me is I am the head tech support officer for my 70-year-old dad who can lift 400 pounds. So I like to make these as fun and entertaining as possible. He calls me whenever he has tech issues. He's probably texting me right now to try to get on Facebook, but I work in digital media and that is my business. So I am the tech support for most of my family and relatives, especially if they are over 60. So a little fun fact about me. We have mentors at SCORE. Here are all of our social media channels. Once again, I work in digital. So of course, I'm going to promote connecting with us via social media and digital media. So please do, if you have Facebook, if you're a Pinterest person, if you're on Instagram, if you're an Instagrammer, or if you watch YouTube videos, we are on all of those channels. If you have any questions about anything that I discuss here, or if you need any assistance with accessing anything, I'm available and ready to help you all. And so you can email me. So you can just click on this little button here and you can email me directly through SCORE. So we've talked a little bit about SCORE, our mission and values. I'm not going to read these. They're here for you. We help small businesses, once again, like yours. That's basically what we talked about in the beginning. Let's get to the good stuff, right? What you really want to know. Are you ready to start your business? Right? If you are either thinking about starting your business or you have a business already, then I'm going to show you a second place where you would go if you already have a business. This is where you start if you're just thinking about it. If it's just an idea in your head and you're like, I think I want to do this, but I'm not quite sure. This is where you start. Right? So you click on this button here and it's actually going to take you over to our website. So the startup roadmap includes 12 chapters and you don't have to take all of them, right? You can take whatever is important and relevant to you right now, what you relate to. So we have a startup roadmap, which is chapter 1, and we have chapter 2, are you ready to start a business? Chapter 3 is defining and validating your idea, which is super duper important. You want to make sure that the idea that you have is something that you can actually monetize, which means make money from, and it's actually something you like to do because you're going to be in this thing for the long haul, right? So you need to make sure that it's absolutely something you want to take advantage of and you want to do. 4 is business plan and business model canvas. 5 is finding and funding. 6 is setting up your business. So we have all of those there, and you can actually click on this link and it will take you directly over to the startup map where you can access all of the resources which are available here. So it is an interactive guide for you all. Next, if you're already in business, but you need help, right? You're looking for assistance in your business. We have a couple of different startup basic courses for you. Simple steps for starting your business, module 1, module 2, defining your business concept. Number 3, creating your marketing plan. 4, financial projections. 5, the 5th module, accounting, bookkeeping, systems, all that good stuff, right? Everything that you need to know to keep your business surviving and thriving, especially in these days and times when we're in the, I don't even want to say the name of it, right? We're in the time of this thing that is happening in the world, but we're definitely here to help you move through some of it. So you just click on either of those links. Once again, it'll take you directly to that actual module if you want to take that module. Next, we're going to go through some myths and realities. This is where I'm going to spend the bulk of the time, and then we'll move into how you can access a mentor. So let's start here. Myth number one, myth and realities of entrepreneurship. Let me just give you the title first and foremost. Myth number one, all I need is a good idea to be a successful entrepreneur. Reality, a good idea is a great start, but it takes hard work, research, planning, plus successful implementation strategies to turn your idea into a profitable enterprise. I absolutely agree with that. Myth number two, I won't have to work so hard or such long hours. The reality is you'll probably work harder and longer than you've ever worked before. I mean, I've had days, just to tell you a little background story. I work in digital, so I do a lot of things on the computer with live streaming and all that good stuff. I've had days where I didn't eat all day because I was just so busy in the work and doing things and editing videos and creating social media posts and talking to clients and helping them through really mindset and limiting things, right? Fear is a huge part of this. So you have to really work through that. And then you get to the work of actually providing for your customers and clients. So you find that instead of that 8-hour or maybe even 10-hour day that you may have given to an employer, you're giving a good 15 to your business, or sometimes doing an all-nighter or an all-dayer, right? 24 hours. So that's the reality of it. Myth number 3, I'll be able to deduct everything so I don't have to pay taxes. The reality is taxes are based on your net income, which can be lowered by subtracting expenses related to your business from your gross income. So strict regulations, I can't say the word, regulations apply. So keep good records and learn how to make the tax system work for you. So I'm not going to even really get it. I'm going to skip right over that one. Just pay attention, keep your records good, and you'll be fine. That's number 4. I won't have to report to a boss. Well, reality, once again, you don't have a single boss. You now have many. Your clients and your customers, each of whom have specific needs and demands, they all become your boss now, right? It really is about just making sure that you deliver the product or the service to your client in the best way possible and that they're able to get the help that they need, right? We're all in business here, or if you're thinking about starting a business, you're thinking about starting a business to solve a problem, right? You see a problem and you know that you can solve it with your unique abilities, skills, and talents. And so now, guess what? You now get to service and give those unique skills and talents to a large base of people, a large audience base of people. And they all now become the centerpiece of your business, and you need to make sure that you're delivering to them appropriately. And number 5, myth number 5, I get to do only the work I want and find interesting. Reality. Think again. You will have to wear many hats and juggle many skills, some of which may bore you to, I'm going to say bore you to life. I don't like to use the other word, but yes, they will bore you. You will literally fall asleep again because you have to do these things. You can delegate when you get to a certain level in your business. However, you'll find when you're first starting off, you need to keep as much of your funds accessible to you as you can. And you want to keep your overhead costs as low as possible, right? So that means you're going to be doing everything in your business. So if you're having trouble with any of these, or if any of these myths are like, yes, I've definitely thought that, and I need to talk to somebody about that, then you can talk with a SCORE mentor and find out more about how we can help you. So you can find a mentor by just clicking on this button. Once again, like I said, I tried to make this as easy as possible, and it's not letting me click on a button. If you have any trouble clicking on that button, then you email me, because that email definitely does work. But that is the end of our handout. Once again, you should either receive this handout in your comment section here in our virtual world here, our virtual conference, or you'll receive it after this presentation. So thank you so much for listening, and I hope to hear from you all soon.
Jessica, that was a fantastic presentation. Thank you for being willing to jump in early for that. And what I really appreciate is that you gave a lot of reality to be an entrepreneur. I have some people that share with me, ideas and things that they want to do, and then some visuals of what the entrepreneur looks like. And it always looks so relaxed and everything. It's like so
Yes,
and
right. And on
everything.
Instagram and YouTube and on Facebook, you're like, oh, I'm an entrepreneur. I have my own business. It's time freedom. Yes, time freedom to work all day.
Exactly. And so the information you shared is actually what I tell a lot of the small business. Well, actually, if you see a lot of people looking like not sleep deprived, then they're not really in it in the same way. An entrepreneur is definitely 24/7, and it's going to be your passion, but it's going to take all your energy and attention and everything else you've shared. So thank you for bringing some reality to this work that can be fulfilling, but definitely needs commitment. So I appreciate your time, and we will definitely, that handout will be shared out with everyone too. So thank you,
wonderful.
Jessica.
Thanks for having me.
So thank you again for joining us. So before we move on to our next speaker, we want to stop a moment and share a video from Siemens, who is one of our partners and sponsors for today. So without any other moment, let's go ahead and show you Siemens. Thank you for that short video from Siemens. And we really appreciate all that they do here in our community and for joining us here today. And so back, with us for just the rest of his presentation is actually Jose. And we're excited for him to talk to you a little bit more about the mapping and show us what he's been doing. So Jose, are you ready to join us? Then
I think we are ready. I
think we're ready. So we often say we're powered by SMUD, Jose. So this is one of those ironies of life, right? So.
Exactly. But no, again, we're quick to respond. And again, I appreciate your patience, Kathy. I'll try to be fast.
Of course.
But definitely want to share the mapping work that we've been doing. And again, we couldn't do any of this mapping work without the support of the folks here at the Diversity Expo, and particularly the Black Chamber, Hispanic Chamber, and Rainbow Chamber. You guys have been amazing partners. Again, thanks everyone for your patience with the technological issues before. But what I'm going to be sharing with you is our Sustainable Communities Resource Map. And our resource map is really based off, it's resource priorities map that's really based to help us and help community members like yourselves best understand where some of the resource needs exist within our region. So you should be able to see right now on your screen, this is a map that's available for anybody in the public. You can go to SMUD's website at www.smud.org/sustainable communities. And the map is there on that page. And what it does is it basically takes 8 key criteria for really defining sustainable communities and allows us to understand where the biggest needs exist. So as you take a look at the map here, the areas that are in darkest red are the areas that have the highest resource need, and really gives us a better opportunity to actually understand how we can best serve our community from a business perspective, a volunteer perspective, mobility perspective, and what have you. So I'm going to walk you through this very quickly because I know that we're short on time. But the criteria we've used, we've actually taken a look at information like the opportunity zones that are there that really identify not just areas that are underserved, but also areas where there can be some benefits and incentives for investment in those areas for businesses like many of the folks on the call. The Promise Zone, which is really an area within Sacramento that actually focuses on our most underserved and underutilized communities. We also factored in our evaluation the SB 535 disadvantaged communities information. And that information really focuses not just on economic disparities, but also environmental justice related disparities as well. We also took a look at the poverty by zip code. So within Sacramento County, we're able to actually take a look at every single zip code where 25% or more of the population lives below the poverty line. And so we're trying to share this information so folks can understand where that need might be and where they might be able to participate. We also took a look at medically underserved areas as defined by HRSA. And we have all that information here, including the ranking and scoring process. And you can also go back to the source material on this map. We also took a look at the Healthy Sacramento Coalition data for health equity to make sure that we also factored in those areas that were identified in that research. The last two pieces of material that we looked at climate change vulnerability, which doesn't just look at the impacts or potential impacts associated with environmental risk, but also the resiliency of a community based off of socioeconomics to respond to a major climate event. So you can see the areas here in red are the areas that are most impacted, the areas in green, the areas that are least impacted. And finally, we also factored in the environmental justice data that the state uses called CalEnviroScreen 3.0. And that again is using a similar color ranking scale. So by taking all this information, we were able to consolidate here at SMUD all of that data into a data set that will allow us to best understand how we as your public utility and how you as business members and community members can best serve the area. And I'm just going to show very quickly how you can leverage this map. You can actually zoom in and take a closer look at the areas. And as Leroy has described, these wards are how we actually govern within the county that we serve. But you can also get some more information as you zoom in about access to transportation lines. You also get information related to schools and how schools rank from a free and reduced lunch perspective. So I can click on a school here. In this case, we're looking at Parkway Elementary School, which has a free and reduced lunch eligibility level of 90%. That usually speaks to issues of economic issues and health issues associated with the neighborhood. So we can take all that information to align our community good projects. And so as a part of our Sustainable Communities Initiative, we've actually contributed over $23 million into the region collectively with all of our partners at SMUD, not to mention the amount of volunteer hours that go into supporting the community. But in addition to that, we've also been able to add some additional layers that we think can be valuable, particularly as we start looking into our future economy. And what a lot of you know, the future really, from a transportation perspective, is really electric. And so one of the things we wanted to make sure we understood is where are all the electric chargers so that communities can actually adjust to this new transition. As you can see, a lot of those aren't in our most underserved communities. So that can allow us to help people identify places for EV charging and also identify opportunities to reduce the cost for purchase and rental uses of electric vehicles, which will improve the environment. Why is that so important? If I take a look at the air quality information that the Air District has provided us, and I'll show you guys that in a moment, all the areas in blue are identified as our highest risk air quality areas within the county. As you can see, if we could get more of those electric vehicles out there, or we could actually promote businesses and green businesses like you have here on the call, we can actually improve the overall performance of our communities. So what I wanted to do is just do a quick little sample of how to use this map. And again, I apologize for the technical issues we had before, but it's just one example of how SMUD is trying to use the data and information that we have to be a part of the solution and helping the community grow in the right direction. And through programs like our SEED program and through our microloans program, which is available for nonprofits for up to $25,000 to support during this transition, we really believe that through this program and the information sharing, we can help the community go in the right direction. Thanks, Kathy, for letting us jump right in and get caught back up.
Of course, Jose. We always appreciate having you. And for those of you who don't know, this mapping that SMUD has done, that's spearheaded by Jose, is actually a game changer here in our community. It really shows where the opportunities are for growth and where investment is needed. So we really appreciate the work that you've done to make that happen, Jose. And thank you for coming back to share it with us.
Thank you, Kathy. And I say the one last thing, this is also something we're using for grant dollars. So for folks who are looking for grants and opportunities, leverage this tool to help bring in dollars. We were able to bring in $50,000 last month on the grant opportunity. We want to be there to help. Thank you for always partnering with SMUD. Appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you, Jose. So we're really glad that we were able to bring Jose back in. Again, the mapping project that they're doing is extraordinary, and we really hope that you take advantage of looking at that. It can help, as he said, for grant dollars, not only for with SMUD and the work they're doing, but for any of our organizations, we can use that information and use it to our advantage too. So it's a great resource, and we hope that you go take a look at that. And now we are actually going to talk about access to capital. And we have with us Carlos Almanza, who is from California Capital, and he's going to come on board and tell us a little bit about the organization and the work that they do, and then share with you a little bit about some opportunities there might be for you. Because by the way, Carlos, who among us doesn't need some capital for our business? So we're very happy to have you here with us today.
Thank you so very much for the time. It's absolutely incredible what you all accomplished. Jose, great information. As a matter of fact, California Capital is one of the agencies and micro lenders that are assisting a lot of our nonprofit partners have access to capital in relationship to the SMUD program that's really focused and geared towards our 501c3 partners. So once again, my name is Carlos Almanza. I am the Capital Access Program Manager for California Capital. Just a little bit of background before I kind of dive in. It's sort of going to be like a condensed version, but we are what's called a Women Business Center, or a WBC, as well as a Procurement Technical Assistance Center. And I'll go ahead and expand a little more about that. Besides, I wanted to go ahead and just lay out some of the things that we're doing right now. We're also administer the state of California Small Business Loan Guarantee Program. And so our core mission is really kind of laid out and specific to really kind of providing an enormous amount of access to capital and resources. And the overall goal is to really, for us as an agency, that we've been around for 30 some odd years, to really increase a lot of those economic opportunities and specific to a lot of those underserved communities, by offering this wider range of flexible lending products. And so along with that, also too, with the collaboration that we need to go ahead and be able to build upon with a lot of our partners. We are a business information center as well. We provide an enormous amount of data research and mapping, and we kind of couple it with our bilingual business success forum. So I'd like to go ahead and real quickly share with you our presentation for this morning, and you believe you should be able to go ahead and let me know if I'm okay here. I'll share that with you. So this is going to be the small business lending portion of it, and I really kind of want to gear us to what are some of the things that we're covering. And what is it that we look for? By the time that an entrepreneur, whether it's a new business or an existing business, gets to us from the funding, is you would have done probably a few items. And the most important one is sort of kind of the business plan. And I'll talk a little bit about that. But I wanted to talk to you is what are some of the alternates of some of the business funding, and how is it that us as direct lenders review? It's relevant to the credit portion of it, and what's the credit score, and how is it does it play an integral part as part of the loan application? But also at the same time is being wary and being very cautious about some of the alternate sources of platform lending that we're seeing as well. So how do you get the money? How do you start a business? Right? So it could be from a very generous family member to money that you've saved, to someone that wants to invest or that you've crowdfunded. It could be a whole gamut of different things, but it's going to be is how you access that capital. And so at California Capital, we're able to provide, loans as low as $500 to upward $10,000, and then we can go up to $150,000. So it just all depends on what is it that you need. And so working in tandem, and I think with our partners, I think it's absolutely imperative that we find out that a lot of these resources are free of charge. They're readily available, but also is that we work in tandem with a lot of financial institutions. Whether you're ready now, or we can get you ready within the next 2 to 3 or even 6 months, to ensure that your business is going to thrive. All right. So I wanted to kind of list a list of items or a list of resources where you can go ahead and gather the information from credit unions to microlenders, which is us, or community-based lending programs. and of course the lending platforms that I spoke about. So what is a microloan? I think that's something that we sort of kind of need to demystify, and what are some of the advantages? So really, anybody that offers less than, I would say, from 50,000, or it could be 150,000 or less, is really going to fall under the realm of that microloan. So if you were to just sort of kind of put together in sort of in your mind, is if your project, if your business, if your venture is going to cost 100,000 and you've invested $60,000 worth of your time, money, equity, whatever it is that you've injected thus far, that includes your time, and it probably ranges about $60,000 or so. We're the gap. We're what's missing. We're the 40, and that's where we come in. And it used to be back in the day where a lot of the financial institutions, unless you've been in business for a couple of years and you were asking for a minimum of $250,000, you weren't going to get approved. And that paradigm has since shifted. And this is where a lot of the micro lenders are now coming in, because not only are we able to provide the direct lending resources, we have the flexibility of the lending criteria, but also too is we're able to provide the technical assistance. We can pair you off, as Jessica stated, with the core score counselors, which we work with. We have business counselors that we actually, experts that can come in and also allow you the opportunity to kind of have that flexibility so you're able to thrive. But also too is that we have that one-on-one closeness with the borrower where we understand where is it that you're coming from. But also too is we want you to be able to let us know what's the economic development impact that you're going to make in that community that you're serving. Because guess what? Not only are you retaining your job, but you're going to be creating job. And that's sort of kind of our paradigm that we look at. So no matter who you ask, no matter who you ask to lend you the money, these are the core things that the lender will be looking for. We want to make sure that you know the business. We want to make sure that you are making enough money not only to go ahead and pay yourself, hopefully, but also pay whatever debt you're going to acquire as a result of that. And then the collateral, right, which is sort of kind of mitigates our risk. You know, what is it that you're coming in with, and so forth, to ensure that you have skin in the game, so to speak. But also too is the investment from the business owner. What is it that you've put in thus far? And I think that's where we're able to go ahead and really assist. So I want to kind of dive in, and this will sort of kind of be the quick version of it, of the 5 C's, or what is it? And here you go, right? You have the character, the capacity, which is going to be the cash flow, and then the guarantees or the collateral, but also too is what is it that you've, once again, injected into the business, and then the overall conditions of it. So let's go ahead and kind of break that down, right? So here's the character, right? This is going to be your own personal reputation, your integrity, the impression that you're going to make as a lender. Who are you? You know, have you lived in the community for a while? Have you established some strong roots? Are you pivoting from a brick and mortar to maybe e-commerce, and how long have you been doing that? But also too is some of the things that raise a lot of flags in our world is when you have that particular individual that is going to go ahead and say, hey, by the way, I'm a barber, but now I'm opening up a butcher shop. Well, that's two different things. What's the correlation there? And so just know that that's one of the things that really, really, not only that, but it matters to me, because you're able as an entrepreneur, as an existing business, to convey that passion, that motivation, and that thrive to be able to go ahead and convince me. And so that's something that we want to be able to go ahead and do. All right. So we focus heavily on the FICO score, as anybody else would now in these days, right? This kind of determines a lot of things. It not only tells us is who you owe money to, how well you paid, what are some of the credit factors. And it doesn't necessarily mean that that's an end all. It just means that we're going to go ahead and pay a little bit more close attention as to what happened that maybe possibly you could go ahead and fix. Maybe there's some errors. So I wanted to go ahead and provide that graph as to what is it that it kind of, encompasses, and it entails. It tells us the story, because every story, we know that life happens, right? It's happening as we speak with the COVID-19, everybody working from home, everybody been impacted. Maybe your hours are cut. But also aside from that is that life, death, divorce, unemployment, I mean, all those things can play a significant factor, and we understand, okay? So once again, the higher the score, right, it means less risk for the lender. The lower the score is obviously, then we have to kind of mitigate how we're going to be approaching that. But it'll also entail whether we're going to go ahead and approve the loan. So, oh, I'm sorry. I thought I was sharing my screen, and I'm just realizing that maybe I wasn't. My complete apologies here. So let me do that. And hopefully you're able to see it, right? Are you able to see my screen? I think so. Okay. All right. So here you go. So those are the things. Okay, perfect. Thank you. I just wanted confirmation on that. So here are the things that, as lenders look at the scoring module, they'll determine once again whether they're going to lend, whether there'll be conditions on the loan, and also too is like, what's the rate going to be? So some things can be fixed, other things can't. So if it's correct, that's how one of the things that a lender will do, and we do it as well, is we'll ask you to bring in a credit report. Because as you know, you're able to access a free credit report from the 3 credit reporting agencies each and every single time. So that way it gives you a snapshot of what's in there. And it could be that something that's unbeknownst to you that might be in there. Okay, so that's one thing that I want to make sure that we drive in right off the bat. The second one is, of course, the cash flow, the capacity. And this is probably the most important of the 5 C's, because this allows us to really sort of kind of determine if your business is able to generate enough revenue to pay not only your debt that you have existing, but if you're acquiring additional debt. And guess what? Whether it be through SCORE, whether it be through a small business development center, or whether it be through one of our business coaches, we can go ahead and put together a cash flow scenario. See, right? They're going to say, can we, it'll be somewhat of a conditional to say, we need 2 years projections, because if anybody experienced economic injury from January up until now, which most of the small businesses did, unless you're a recipient of the PPP or the EIDL loan, that's only a temporary advantage. But how are you faring now? Okay, so this is going to be absolutely important. Also, too, is if you're an existing business, of course, we're going to take a look at the cash flow. If you're starting your business, guess what's going to be important? The business plan. That business plan is going to be your roadmap to success. And if you're in business now, you're probably still tweaking it. If you're going to be in business, then you'll need to have a business plan written out, because all of that is going to be all encompassing. And I do want to point out to our California Capital website, we do have a program on there that's called the Dream Builder. It's a module that you sign up for, and probably about 13 course module that at the end of the course, guess what? It spits out the business plan free of charge. So something to keep in mind, okay? And then the third one is going to be the collateral. This is going to be, essentially, what's the tangible asset? Are you pledging money? If you're securing some, are we going to have the option, depending on what is it that you're asking for? Most lenders pretty much require for that business owner to personally guarantee it. So as a non-traditional lender, maybe possibly we can also determine whether we can collateralize it. We can, UCC filing, which is almost sort of a deed of trust on equipment. And so all these different things can come in, right? Just all depends on what is it that you put in there. The fourth one is going to be the capital, your contribution, the skin in the game, right? So the business capital is, what's the net worth of the business, right? So what is it what are some of the assets minus liability, but also it's going to show what is it that you've invested thus far. And I'll go back to the equity injection. We call it owner's equity or skin in the game, right? But usually with more traditional lenders, the less of amount of money that you put into the business, the likelihood of the probability that loan is going to get declined. Remember, you have to have skin in the game. Long gone are the days where, no one's going to lend you on an idea, right? Remember, I think Jessica brought that up. We need to be able to go ahead and have it focused, have it written out, have it projected, and that's going to pretty much cover it as to what's going to be your niche as you're launching your business or tweaking your existing business. The fifth one's going to be the condition, right? What's the lender going to consider in closing loans, whether it be the loan amount, the interest rate, but also too is, remember, say I'm a homeowner and I'm allowing you go ahead and say, you know what, maybe we can secure a deed of trust under primary residence for the amount that you're seeking, and it could be 150,000. If it's anything possibly less than 20,000, well, the likelihood of that, maybe I'll just secure the equipment, whatever it is that we're trying to get the loan for. And unlike a mortgage, remember, this has to be an itemized list, and we're going to ask you, how did you come up with that specific amount? If you're asking for $30,000, when all is said and done, when we actually have you itemize it, it could be that maybe you're only are requesting a lesser amount. Okay. All right. As we wrap this up, just be ready to ask for the loan. Be well prepared. We want to tell the story for you, but we also want to hear it from you. And just be honest. What is it about yourself? Remember, the goal here is you're going to be an employer. You're going to be hiring. So you need to know all those items that entail you being an employer, right? So I would be, maybe the first one is what the business plan is going to entail. And secondly is you're going to get the help and training, which is what you're doing here now, as by attending, these free forums and whatever it is that has access. You shouldn't have to pay to access all this information. But also too is if you're choosing a place for your business, it's always absolutely important that you get advice from a customer-friendly site that complies with the laws in that area, right? It could be maybe a couple counties, but that could entail 7 cities, or not 7 cities, but maybe 4 cities, and each one is going to have their own requirement. Okay, so it's just important. So just be ready to ask for your loan. And also too is from the start, look at the various different local, state government support and state subsidies that are available. That could also include with a lot of your community banks. I think that's going to be absolutely key. But also too is defining the legal structure of your business. That's going to be important, right? How is this going to be assigned? Will it be an LLC, which will be an S corporation, or maybe a nonprofit? It just all depends. And then with that, you'll be able to go ahead and register your name as a DBA with the state, right? We all have, a designation that as we operate, as we're hired, and same with the business. As you register for state and local taxes, remember, you're going to get this tax identification number, which allows you to sort of it goes into the workman's comp and unemployment and disability insurance, but also it kind of leads to the list of licenses and permits that are required to be able to conduct business, especially in the state of California. And then also too is know that if you're going to become an employer, know what the responsibilities are. So you have to know the legal steps that you have to follow to hire employees. But I think most importantly is locating the local assistance that's free of charge. So remember, the basics on the loan request is going to be how much money you're going to need, how will you use the money, all right? And that's going to be the working capital. So there's some restrictions on depending on which funds is it that you use. But also too is that will also determine the term of the loan. Most loans don't go beyond 7 years. Okay, I've seen them from 5 to 7 on business loans. And then the line of credit are 2 different things. The line of credit is you draw it down, and it's usually securitized by, say, a residence. So it just all depends. All right, but it is quite a common theme that businesses do utilize. Remember, the basics of the loan request is that the number one thing is how will you pay that loan back, and how many months will you pay it back? What is your owner's equity? What's your collateral that you're pledging to ensure that not only that you're going to convince me, but any other lender to say, you know what, this is what I'm putting in there. Maybe there might be a demand that we put 20% of whatever you're requesting and that could be time. Okay, but also to monetary. So with that in mind, the other thing that I want to make sure is the critical is going to be the business plan. All right, there's a lot of tools, but most of all, and I wanted to wrap up as we here for the final minute, is ensure that there's an enormous amount of information that's happening right now. As far as predatory type of lending items that are happening. And I think when that occurs, it's important that we know what is it that we're getting ourselves into. I think it's important to really find out what are we signing up for, and if it's too good to be true, then it probably is. So with that being said, we absolutely appreciate the time and effort for our invite here in this diversity training. I certainly have enjoyed all the information, and we invite you to go ahead and visit our website at californiacapital.org. All of our workshops are listed there as a Women Business Center free workshops, free of charge. And I'll turn that over to you, Kathy. Thank you so very much again. This is a great opportunity to be able to do this at this Diversity Business Summit.
Well, great, Carlos. Thank you so much for all that valuable information. It was very concise. And for everyone that's watching with us, California Capital is a great partner to all of us. And as he said, there's lots of free workshops that are there and more information about access to capital. And thank you for being so great at putting that step by step for everyone to really understand what it takes to be able to access that in order to grow their business. And
Perfect.
And most importantly, to know that they really need to understand their own finances before they're coming in and to ask for any funding. Correct?
Absolutely. We can get them ready. Absolutely.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Carlos, again, for sharing your time with us, resources and information. And we are moving on to our final presentation for the summit. So again, thank you everyone who's been joining us today. We hope you've gotten some valuable information, and we think this next speaker is really going to wrap up our day in a really good way. We're excited to have her with us, and that is Jennifer Verdugo, and she is the Associate State Director for AARP. And she's also the lead for Greater Sacramento region. So Jennifer, we're happy to have you here with us. If you can tell us just a little bit about AARP and before you start your presentation, and we're ready to go.
Great. Thank you, Kathy. And good morning, everyone. My name is Jennifer Verdugo, and on behalf of AARP, we're really pleased and honored to be sponsors of today's event. I know we're near the end, but I wanted to just spend a couple of minutes to give you a high-level overview of who we are, and I also wanted to talk about one of our most prominent advocacy initiatives, one that is especially relevant to today's audience and this conversation, which is creating livable communities for all. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here and get the presentation going. Okay. So just quickly, for those of you who may not know, AARP is the nation's largest nonprofit, nonpartisan organization that serves the needs of older adults and their families. We have nearly 38 million members across the country, and in California alone, we have 3.3 million members. Here in Sacramento County, we have 140,000 members. And in the state offices, our focus is on advocacy, education, and outreach, particularly on issues such as health security, financial stability, caregiving, fraud prevention, and much more. Dr. Ethel Percy Andrus founded AARP in 1958. She was a retired educator, the first female principal of a public high school in California, and after finding a retired colleague living in a chicken coop, she set out to make change. AARP was founded on the simple premise that no one should have to live in a chicken coop. The shocking discovery of a distinguished former teacher living in poverty inspired our founder to devote the rest of her years to improving the quality of life for all as they age. She once said of the United States, "This is a country where it is wonderful to be young and must also become a country where it is wonderful to be old." And AARP has been working with communities to create more livable communities since the organization was founded. Many of us have seen and heard about these statistics. By 2035, for the first time in US history, more Americans will be over the age of 65 and will be 18 or younger. And by 2050, 1 out of every 5 Americans will be 65 and older. And in 2060, the median age will rise to 43. These maps show a dramatic age shift. The darker the blue, the higher the percentage of 65 plus aged citizens in the state. Our country is aging dramatically and very quickly. And these demographics are finally helping to raise awareness within municipalities of the dire need to prepare for the aging of the population, particularly if they're striving to become attractive places to live, work, do business, and attract tourists. For the past 50 years, our communities have been building housing targeted toward young families and for people who don't have trouble getting around in their home. We've built homes without thinking about the ease of use by people living in them. And we've developed roads for cars and not for people who walk, bike, or roll to the places they want to go. The majority of people living in the US are aging in car-dependent suburban and rural locations with transportation and pedestrian infrastructure that's not well suited to support those who don't drive. This can isolate individuals. In a recent research by AARP shows that 77% of people who are over the age of 45 want to stay in their existing community. They want to continue leading active, healthy, and engaged lives in the cities and neighborhoods that they currently call home. In order for older people to make their community a lifelong home, they need to be able to go for a walk, get around without a car, shop, socialize, and be entertained. They also need to be able to find the services that they need. Many want to continue working or volunteering, and most importantly, want to live safely and comfortably. In our surveys and research, we've learned that what older people want is very similar to what millennials want as well. One common theme among boomers and millennials is that shared desire for livability features, especially those related to living in a more compact, walkable, and mixed-use neighborhood with transportation options. We know that what people want in their community isn't defined by their age. Here. Fortunately, in 2019, the city of Sacramento joined AARP's network of age-friendly states and communities. This doesn't mean that the city is already certified as age-friendly, but it does mean that the city made a commitment to actively plan and work toward creating a community that's good for people of all ages. The city added an element to the 2040 general plan that will create an age-friendly action plan. The city has already begun surveys and listening sessions to hear from the community about what they'd like to see in that plan, but the work continues. As of today, there are over 500 other communities that have made this commitment across the US and over 50 communities in California alone. Locally, we'd love to see more cities, counties, and communities make this same commitment, and our goal is to get the entire state of California to join as well. It's also important for our local elected leaders and business leaders to remember the contributions of the 50 plus supporting our local economy and community. As California's population ages, older residents will play a critical role to the state's economic recovery and growth. Even after accounting for the impact of COVID-19, California's aging population will continue to make economic and social contributions that benefit people of all ages. And the growth of this age group will fuel innovation and new market solutions. The purchasing power of California's 50-plus population will generate tax revenue for decades to come. In 2018, the market activities of people 50-plus supported $88 billion in state and local taxes, which is 34% of California's total. That figure will quadruple to $366 billion by 2050. In the labor force, we anticipate that by 2030, the 50-plus population's activities will support 10.4 million jobs in California, which will drive employment growth across all age groups and industries. Additionally, older adults have fueled the economy with their unpaid contributions, such as volunteering and caregiving for children and adults. In 2018, the 50-plus population in California contributed $11 billion in volunteering activities and $68 billion in unpaid caregiving. And we encourage everyone who's watching today to consider these contributions and what it means for creating a livable community. To learn more, you can visit the website listed. It's longevityeconomy.aarp.org. Lastly, we all know that the coronavirus pandemic has significantly impacted older adults. We've been engaged in advocacy at the federal, state, and local levels to help support the needs of older adults and their families during this unprecedented time. We encourage all of you to share our website. It's aarp.org/coronavirus, where you can find the most up-to-date information around key news, AARP's related advocacy work, important tips for caregivers, staying healthy, how to avoid frauds, and much more. With that, in closing, I just want to thank you all again for the opportunity to present and to sponsor today's event. If you'd like to learn more or get involved with these state and local efforts, please don't hesitate to contact me, and my contact information is on the screen. And I'll hand it back over to Kathy.
Thank you, Jennifer, for all that information. We really appreciate you and your partnership today, and to give us all a little history too, how AARP started. I had no idea about the chicken coop piece, but it's a very big visual that I think we all want to remember to try to build on, so we are not living in chicken coops moving forward. So thank you for all your organization does and for being here with us today. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. So at this point in time, we've been here with our Diversity Summit that was brought to you by the Sacramento Black Chamber, the Sacramento Rainbow Chamber, and the Sacramento Hispanic Chamber. And it's been 2 hours full of information, and we hope that it's been valuable and informative for you. And at this point, I would really like to bring back my two counterparts, Aziza and Fred, here at the end. Hello, you two. I've missed you the past 2 hours. It's good to see you again.
Well, we were very lucky. We didn't have to miss you. You've done an amazing job today, Kathy. Thank you so much for moderating for us. Someone wrote in the chat that you are just a superstar, and I absolutely agree.
Aziza and Kathy, I feel like we all have our own TV show. We're the new View or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Let me just take a moment again to really thank all of our presenters who did an amazing job today, but even more importantly, our sponsors that allowed us to be able to have these presenters here today. SMUD, thank you so much. Even with the hiccup, it was a great presentation, Jose, and thank you so much for that. UC Davis Health and UC Davis Systems, we appreciate all of your support. Kaiser Permanente, Wells Fargo Bank, Siemens Mobility Inc., and most importantly, the City of Sacramento's Economic Development Department. We thank you all very, very much for your support for this effort. We're just going to get better and better with this every year, I think.
I agree. It's been a really, great morning of everyone that was here, and I'm glad that everyone appreciated the panelists and the presenters. And I learned a lot actually today too, that as much as we work with all our partners, there were certain programs that I hadn't heard about either. So I know we'll all be reaching back to them too to get that additional information about that.
Absolutely. We're all here together to help teach each other, learn new things, even learning about how some teacher unfortunately lived in a chicken coop. That was the best little trivia tidbit I think I got today. A trivia question, but very much enjoyed all of our speakers, and thank you to all of our sponsors and all of you who attended and joined us today. I think all of our websites will have information obviously on membership and activities and benefits. So we encourage you to please visit our websites. If you are a member, we thank you for being a member. And if you're not a member, we hope you'll consider joining one or all of our chambers, and we can work together on these things.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I have to tell our audience one other thing. We have been together, this collaborative has been together for the last 3 years. And you've all let us know just how much you appreciate what we've been able to bring to you over the last 3 years and in the format of our workshops and our networking opportunities. And we really, really appreciate the belief that the City of Sacramento has had in us and allowing us to do this for the last 3 years. We don't know when we're coming back, guys. It's most unfortunate, but we're not sure yet. Just know that we're going to be working to find sponsors to keep this collaborative going. We think it's important. We think that the diversity is important, that the inclusion that we want to present is important, not only to us, but to all of you out there in the community. Know how hard we're working at it. So hang in there with us. And if you've got ideas on how we can keep this going, you let us know. But know that we'll be continuing to work to make that happen.
And I'd like to encourage everybody that's with us to continue to support, obviously, yourselves, your community, and your business, but to donate your time and your money to causes that matter to you. I mean, we all have causes that matter in our hearts, but now more than ever, we really all need to be in this together, and we need to support the things that are most important to help our community grow and be more prosperous. Speaking of donating things, Aziza, we have a little bit of a raffle for all of y'all who joined us. We're very grateful for having opportunities to have things donated, and Aziza's chamber, the Black Chamber of Commerce, has donated a few pieces of art from some of their members, I believe. So we have that as some raffle prizes to give away. And then we also have some gift certificates that the Rainbow Chamber and myself have donated to Scott's Seafood on the River, one of our favorite places for Kathy and I to meet. And another one of my favorite places to meet, we have a gift certificate to Ernesto's Restaurant in Midtown. So just by process, because we can't pull names out of a hat, we took the registration list and I just picked numbers on the Excel spreadsheet. So it's very random. And the winners of our prizes are Vanessa King from bestbuddies.org.
Oh, yay.
Phil Williams, which his email does not show me what he's from. So it's a person with an email that I can't make sense of a business name. I apologize. Another one is Lakeisha Appleton. And
oh, yay.
Yeah, her email is just her name, so she must own a consulting firm.
I got her.
Okay, and we have all these emails, so we'll contact you via email. And the next prize goes to Cameron Saylor, a member of the Rainbow Chamber, one of our board members. And the next one goes to Fredo Sanchez from Cap City.
Okay.
Oh, great.
So all those winners, we will connect with you via email, and you will win either a piece of art from the Black Chamber of Commerce or a gift certificate to one of those 2 restaurants, which is kind of fun. Aziza, do we have any other business, or can we invite folks to join the last piece?
I think it's a really good idea. Kathy, do you have anything else that you want to?
You know what? I feel like I've been, talking through this whole thing, but again, like everyone else, thank you so much for the partnership that we have actually with Sacramento Black Chamber and the Sacramento Rainbow Chamber. As I said at the beginning, out of all the things we do, this is the most organic, it's authentic. Everything we do is for our members and for the community at large. And I also echo what Fred says. What we've seen this past year is things can happen, things can change, things, we can definitely make an impact, and it happens when we're all working together. And as I said, we brought out Juntos Sacramento exactly for that, because it's all with us working together, focused together, and we can make our community a better place. And I've always said that for me, what I want to make sure is I leave someplace a little bit better than I found it. And I hope that all of you feel a little bit the same way. And I hope that you know that you have partners here in us that are doing the same thing. So with that on my end, I am good. And I wish you guys all a good morning. And Fred is going to segue into the next exciting portion of our conference for you. But thank you, Fred and Aziza, for sharing the morning with me.
You bet. And one more thank you goes out to Tim from Talent Entertainment, who has been in the background here helping us do this. Tim is a wonderful partner of all 3 of our chambers and member of our chambers. And we very much appreciate all his technical support for us 3 non-tech business very much so, Tim. So thank you to Tim from Talent Entertainment, a locally based small company. We hope you support and use his services. So I'm going to go ahead. We should have on the bar on the side, if you'd like, there's a networking button that you can click right now. Those of you that are interested, it will take you individually and do some networking, and it will automatically put you in queue with each other. And again, thank you for joining us today. All 3 of our chambers and all of our sponsors, we very much thank you for being here. And please let us know if we can help you in any way or if you have any questions. Have a great rest of your day.